It's Grace Redman, and thank you so much for joining me on a solo episode of Real Talk, where I am going to share with you about living the elevated life and creating a business and life that you are excited to wake up to. So many of us are caught up in just the chaos, in the distractions that we live in a place of fear and resentment and chaos. We get dragged into the chaos and the distractions. And as I was thinking about one of the first topics to share, what came up was the topic of forgiveness. And I sat with that topic, and ironically, through last week, through the entire week, as I was connecting with my colleagues, my clients, and friends, the same subject of forgiveness kept coming kept coming up. And you might think, what does forgiveness have to do with business? Well, forgiveness has a lot to do with business because I believe that our personal and professional lives are really integrated. And we've been taught and conditioned that our personal and our business lives are separate. So we've compartmentalized them. And what we don't realize is when we are carrying the resentment from unforgiveness, that keeps us from moving forward in the way that we want. Now, I'm not saying that we can't create success when we hold on to resentment and unforgiveness, because let me tell you, I definitely created a tremendous amount of success from being in a place of resistance and non-forgiveness. I used it to fuel me, and I had the metaphor that success is the best revenge. And you know what? It did work. I did create success, but that resentment also wore me down. I didn't feel a sense of peace. I always felt on on edge. My body always felt stressed. And of course, I did experience moments of joy. But once I started doing the real deep work, I realized that I was holding on to a tremendous amount of resentment um, from the people who hurt me, who I felt betrayed by. And I didn't realize that holding on to that resentment was hurting me. Now I know that forgiveness is it's hard. I'm not going to front. Forgiveness is really hard, and it's easier said than done when they say, just forgive, let go. And it's not that easy. And I'm not going to be here to tell you just forgive and let it go, because there have been situations that took me decades to forgive. And we get to honor that. We get to honor what we feel, especially when we've been betrayed and hurt deeply and have been, affected by really challenging betrayals. It's not easy, and it lives in our body, and it makes us feel unsafe. And it's not a way that I wanted to live, but I really didn't know any better. And so at that time, you're talking, 20 years ago, I used that um, anger that I had to fuel me in my business. And it worked until it didn't work anymore. It wasn't until I started doing, the deeper healing work that I realized the reason that I had plateaued in my business is because I had plateaued in my life, and that there was some deeper work to do. And one of the first places that I started in one of my mastermind groups was forgiveness. And who are you? What resentments do you hold? And I had a lot of them. I had a lot of resentments and unforgiveness, because in my perspective, if I forgave the person, it meant that I let them off the hook. And I was not about to do that. Like, you do not get to get let off the hook for hurting me, betraying from me, throwing me under the bus, stealing, lying. I mean, I had all of these resentments to different people in different situations, and I was holding on to them. And I remember it was the first time I heard this. Not forgiving is like drinking the poison and waiting for the other person to die. And that really resonated with me. I was like, wow, yeah, that doesn't feel that doesn't feel good. And what I learned was forgiveness really isn't about the other person. Forgiveness is releasing us. Forgiveness is us taking our power back. And there is nowhere that it says that when we forgive someone, we need to go to them directly and forgive them. Or maybe there is somewhere that says that. I mean, you can call me out on that. But for me, in my perspective, when it comes for forgiveness, it doesn't mean that I have to call the person and tell them I forgive you. I never have to see or speak to the person again, because forgiveness again is about me releasing myself from that resentment. Because when these um, emotions live in our body, they slow us down, and they also cause illness. I mean, I could speak to that from experience. And what I've learned on this journey, that our mind, body, and spirit are connected. So in my mind, holding on to that, um, not forgiving was living in my body. I wasn't releasing it. I was holding on to the anger, and it lives in our body. And we want to acknowledge our anger. We want to acknowledge like how we're feeling. We definitely don't want to sweep it under the rug, and really think about letting letting go and offering forgiveness. Again, we never have to go to that person directly. And in a few moments, I will definitely share a few exercises I have used to help me forgive. I think one of the most profound things I learned around forgiveness is learning to forgive ourselves first. Because I've learned that in learning to forgive myself, it helps me be more forgiving. And look, it takes time. And I'll use my mom as an example. And, I love her, God rest her soul. But I had a lot of resentment towards my mother. And it took me 20 years to actually finally come to a place where I forgive her. And mind you, she had already passed. So from the time she passed away until I was able to truly forgive her fully, it was 20 years. However, from the moment I decided to forgive her, it didn't feel good. Like I really didn't want to forgive her. But I believe that once we set that intention to forgive, the process gets set in motion. And be gentle with yourselves. Forgiveness can take a very long time. And maybe you go from an intensity of resentment of 10 and down to a resentment intensity of 2. That's progress. And also, if you feel that, I need to hold on to this for some reason, I'm not ready to let it go, and you feel like you're at a level of intensity 2, that's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. This journey is yours, and it's at your pace. Now, I'm on the other side of forgiveness in the situation with my mom, and so being on the other side of it, I feel so much freer. Um, I feel so much lighter in my body, and that's, I feel like the most important thing is moving this energy out of our body, because our body does keep score. And when we hold on to these offenses and we internalize it, it affects our nervous system. And really, one of the most important things, and everything you listen to and read is, it may not state it, but it's about regulating our nervous system, because so many of us are in a fight or flight response probably all the time, especially us as entrepreneurs. um, I think we're just unconsciously in a state of fight or flight because that's how we're wired. And so if there are, you know, tools that we can use that can help us regulate ourselves, like choosing forgiveness, it's going to be much better on our body. And also, when we are more regulated, we have better cognitive function, we can sleep better, we have more energy. And as an entrepreneur, that is the most important thing for me, is my energy, because if I don't have my energy, I am not able to show up for not only my business but for myself and my family. And that's why, we talk about the elevated life and creating a life and business you're excited to wake up to. And you might think, well, what does forgiveness have to do with it? Has everything to do with it. Because when we are clear and we have our cognitive, functioning, and we're able to be present and aware and move through, the challenges in our lives, that makes us better leaders and better human beings. And one of the top qualities of a high performer is learning how to manage our emotional state. And when we're in a state of unforgiveness, um I'm just going to say it, like, it sucks, and we ruminate. Like, I would ruminate, over the different experiences I had. I know I used my mom as an experience. I've had many experiences where I just felt betrayed, hurt, and I ruminated over it, and it took a lot of energy away from my business. It took a lot of energy away from taking care of myself, from taking care of my family. And so when we are able to, take a step back and recognize, hey, you know what, I feel betrayed, I feel like I have been victimized, I was taken advantage of, honor how you feel and set the intention for forgiveness, number one, for yourself and for the other person. Again, it's not for the other person, it's really for you. So, yes, it took me 20 years to finally get in a place of forgiveness with my mom, because I felt that if I forgave her, I was excusing her for, the hurt she caused. And we're not excusing the other person. We are really, again, like I said, releasing ourselves and taking our power back. Something that helped me with my forgiveness was getting curious and stepping back and kind of looking at, okay, what could she have been going through? What was her life like? What was her childhood like that she would, throw her own daughter under the bus? And so once I started gaining awareness to her upbringing, her childhood, I said, you know what? She didn't know any better, because the same things happened to her. Now, that wasn't to excuse her, it wasn't not to hold her accountable, it was just to realize, like, it wasn't about me. Because in those times that I have been hurt, betrayed, taken advantage of, I internalized it, that it was something that I did wrong, that I wasn't good enough. And that wasn't true at all. Um, it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. It wasn't that she didn't love me. It was what she knew. And I want to share another example. There was another time, like, I was furious and I was taken advantage of in a business situation where I invested a considerable amount of money with this organization. And a few weeks later, I realized I had just a gut feeling like something was off. And I reached out to them to let them know, like, hey, I I'm okay. I will lose the few $1,000s that I put into this um, investment. I don't want to continue. And they let me know, don't worry, just stay in it for one more year. After a year, things will change. Well, after a year, things didn't change, and I wanted my investment, part of my investment back, and I never heard from them. And I realized that I was totally taken advantage of. And I was so upset and I was so angry. And I really didn't want to forgive them or myself. And again, it took time. But what I realized in that situation was a few things. I looked within myself. I'm like, okay, like I made this decision when I wasn't in a grounded place. I was in a place where I was not feeling, great emotionally or mentally, one. And two, I had a gut feeling, but because I was, so desperate for community at that time, I overlooked that feeling. And so that helped me learn, okay, you don't make those types of business decisions when you're not in a good place. Make sure that you are in a grounded, um, emotional place before you make those kinds of decisions. I'll never make that mistake again. And that was over 10 years ago. And I'm happy to tell you I haven't made that kind of mistake again. So there's definitely learnings in these experiences that we have. In getting curious, stepping back and getting curious in this situation, obviously, these people who sold me this bunk business proposition were coming from a place of fear and greed and desperation. And they felt that, that's what they had to do to help them grow their business. And that helped me have compassion because definitely, I have definitely come from a place of fear, many times. But living in that place, it doesn't feel good. It's not a it's not a high vibration. It's not a place where we're going to attract abundance. And listen, karma is real and karma's a bitch. So that was not a fun situation. However, it took me a lot less time for me to forgive myself and to forgive them. I never reached out to them and told them, hey, I forgive you. Um, they really didn't, I didn't need to do that. And they didn't, I don't feel like they deserved it from me because this was about forgiving myself and releasing the resentment because it is. Resentment is like drinking the poison and waiting for the other person to die. And like, I am not down for that at all. Like, I am down for just feeling good emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. I am addicted to how I feel. I'm addicted to being in the higher vibration. I'm addicted to living the elevated life. And it took me a long time to get here. That's why I'm excited, to share these principles with you that I've learned, not just from the books and from certifications and classes and degrees, but from my own life experience. I'll tell you what, I mean, education's amazing and the certifications I took are amazing, but there has been nothing that has taught me better than life experiences. And like you, I have had, so many life experiences that have taught me so much, been through so much pain, so many challenges. And you spoke and I listened. You wanted to hear the stories directly from me. And I'm definitely looking forward to sharing, the stories on the different topics based on my experience and also based on my clients' experience. I learned so much from my clients. They've been amazing, and anything is possible. And I really believe that the inner work is the business work. I can speak for myself. The deeper I got into the inner work and connecting with myself and learning about myself and taking my own inventory of, okay, where are my gaps and the resentments I have and the limiting beliefs I have, the stories I tell myself, my business elevated. And so life and business are not separate. They're integrated. And if but we've been taught, keep the personal life personal and the business business. And I don't believe that is true. I feel like when we compartmentalize them, we fragment ourselves, and it's time to integrate them. And believe it or not, for some reason, forgiveness was the first topic that came up. And again, so many of my colleagues and clients talked about forgiveness last week. So I was like, okay, that is going to be the first topic. So again, I want to go back. I know forgiveness is not easy. I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you it's not easy. If something um, affects you, happens to you, feel betrayed, hurt, I know there's terrible things that can happen, and someone tells you just let it go. I'm here to tell you I see you, and you don't need to let it go. You get to feel what you feel and take the time to feel what you feel. And yes, there is going to come a point where you get to make that decision, the intention to forgive yourself and the other person on your timeline. Now, yes, the sooner the better, because it's better for you. And it could take time, and that's okay. However, the moment you set the intention is when the process starts. I'm going to share two exercises with you that really help me navigate my resentments and help me forgive. So, one of the first exercises is write or burn. Write and burn. Get your notebook and think about the person who's hurt you and just write them a letter. Everything that you want to say. And it could be completely mean, evil, cuss, curse. Tell them you want them dead. I mean, this is yours. And get everything out in that letter, whatever it is. Be mean, be cruel, be angry, get it out in that letter, because we want to move that energy out of the body, because the body keeps score. We don't want to hold it in our body, because trust me, it creates dis-ease in our body. I will share my experience with that another podcast. So get that paper, write everything down, however you feel. When you're done, just kind of take a deep breath and then put that paper away for 24 hours. Come back to it 24 hours later, take it out, kind of feel into your body, see if there's anything else you want to share. And if there is, write it out. If there isn't, great. So when you're done with that, take that piece of paper and go burn it. So I typically do my write and burn in my kitchen sink. I stand over the sink, I get the lighter, and I just watch it burn. And there's something cathartic in doing that. Again, you're releasing it out of your body. There's is not only cathartic in burning it, it's cathartic in writing it out. Because also when we start writing, there's something activated within us cognitively, and things that we didn't even realize were there start to come out. So this is a very powerful exercise. So after you write, you burn it. And really kind of our breath is important after you burn it and you're watching it burn. Just take a deep breath in. And then after that, you gotta have to do something that brings you joy, that fills you. What I typically do, I go to the freezer and I eat one of those Trader Joe's coffee cone ice creams, and that fills me up. That makes me feel so good. And then I go along my day. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but try it. And once you try it, email me. Let me know how it worked out for you, because I'm telling you, there is something magical. And just wait. It could take a couple days for you to feel a shift. The second exercise, that's the second activity that I would like to share with you. I've taken from ancient Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. It's called Ho'oponopono. And there's just 4 words: thank you, I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you. And you imagine the person on a stage, like you're watching them on a stage, and you just repeat those four words over and over. Because also those four words aren't just for them, they're also for you. Because remember, as the actually, it's hard also to forgive ourselves. And I've learned once we forgive ourselves, it's easier to forgive others. And so in that prayer, in those four words, thank you, I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, not only are you sending that energy to the person, it's coming back to you as well. And I've sat, up to, 20 minutes doing that prayer. And oof, I'm telling you, I'd be at an intensity of 10. Like, I want to kick your ass. And when in doing that prayer, it really comes down to a 2-1. Sometimes it goes away depending on, um, what the offense toward me was. So again, this isn't letting the other person off the hook, because I really had a hard time about that. It's for you, and for you to take your power back and to release that resentment. Because the clearer we are, the better we feel, the better we're able to show up in our lives and in our businesses, because they are not separate at all. They are intertwined. And I'm excited to continue to show up with you, to real talk about living the elevated life and how to create a life and business you are excited to wake up to. I appreciate you being here and just listening to me riff. I will continue to show up. And if you have any questions, suggestions, topics that you'd like to hear about, experiences, how to handle certain things, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. So I'm going to leave you with this last piece. I shared with you that it took me over 20 years to forgive my mother, my own mother, and who had passed away. I mean, I think she passed away in 2003. I just recently forgave her. So yeah, 20, and she was gone, and I had a hard time forgiving her. Here's the beautiful piece that I'm going to end with. Last week, I was at one of my masterminds, and we started to do work around our mothers, because oftentimes a lot of what keeps us back is our parents, our parent wounds. And one of the exercises was write a letter to your mother. And that was the first time I was able to write a very loving, compassionate letter to my mother. I was able to see her. I was able to understand that, she had a very hard life. I was able to understand that she was doing the best she could. And I couldn't believe I wrote that letter. If you told me 5 years ago I would write that letter, um, I would tell you you're crazy, because I still had, so much resentment. So I hope this has been helpful for you. And again, if you are, feeling some type of way and feel resentment and been hurt, I feel you, I see you, and the forgiveness is for you and not for them. And every day I say the Lord's Prayer, and I kind of just remembered that. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And the Lord is a very merciful, God is a very merciful God and a forgiving God. And if He forgives us for our indiscretions, which we all have them, then let us take a moment and think about, forgiving those who have hurt us. Again, not letting them off the hook, but doing that forgiveness for ourselves. I love you. Until next time, make it an amazing day. See you soon. Bye.